How was, our disjointed week with the disappointment and frustration of Tuesday? How has training been? I know they trained for a little bit when they got back yesterday.
Yeah, it's difficult. I'm not gonna lie. To get yourself up and motivated and get your body ready for an intense session. We got about 45 minutes to an hour's worth of work yesterday when we got back. Bearing in mind the lads have been on the coach all day Tuesday, and obviously the majority of Wednesday morning, and we got back here at 2:30. So we got a bit of work into them. They got their day off today, and we're preparing as best we possibly can for Oldham this weekend. We know there's going to be a pitch inspection tomorrow, which might save us travelling up, or needlessly save us travelling up. But we've just got to prepare as best we possibly can. The players are hungry and ready, especially on the back of Tuesday night being called off.
Got to ask, what food did you go for then? I think you said you're going to get them a Nando's or a Chinese.
Yeah, we got Nando's. We got Nando's to deliver, and we sat and we watched United. I've said previously, it wasn't a great game to watch. Couple of beers, Nando's. For some reason, footballers like Nando's. I can understand it in terms of its simplicity. But I think the happiest person I've got to mention, Conor Durbridge, in terms of our S&C coach. He was proudly telling everyone that he often eats a whole chicken at a time when he goes to Nando's. So it's one of those in terms of a little bit of team bonding, but a little bit of relaxation time as well. When you're on a coach for that amount of time and then to get to a game and almost get changed and then it get called off was a real kick in the teeth. And we just wanted the players to relax and then enjoy each other's company. It was a shame, I suppose, that the Everton-Tottenham game wasn't on Tuesday night because that looked like an exciting game. But as it was, we watched United win. And as happy as I was watching United win, it wasn't a great spectacle in terms of watching that game of football. But the lads relaxed nicely, got a good night's sleep. And then, like I said, we travelled back on the Wednesday and got a little bit of work into them. And they've got the day off today.
In terms of team selection, I know obviously you pick your team depending on who you play and what suits best. In terms of the team you picked on Tuesday, are we likely to see a same, if not similar team on Saturday? Or
it'll change again. The team I'd picked and selected, and they knew the team on Tuesday, was due to the opposition, due to being away from home, due to the physical nature of the previous two games against Stevenage and Bradford, respectively, due to Lewis Page's injury. So there's always different variables in terms of a team selection, and we've got so many games when it's consistently Saturday, Tuesday. I've said before, you don't really want to change your team as a manager, especially when you're winning. But for the players' bodies and their players' minds and freshening up, I'd made changes on Tuesday. It'd be a totally different team again this weekend. But they seem pretty flexible and pretty relaxed in terms of, no one's going without game time, put it that way. These players are playing, and the likes of Jake Taylor just come back from an injury and played 90 minutes. So Tuesday would have been a stretch for him. But the fact that game was called off puts him back in contention for this weekend. And we'll keep on doing that, probably, unfortunately, for the remainder of the season with so many games to come.
Where injuries-wise, it was good to have Joel Randall back last weekend. Where are we at with Randall Williams and obviously Sam Stubbs and the likes?
Yeah, look, Joe Randall got on the pitch against Bradford, so we're delighted with that. He was due to get more game time on Tuesday, and we'll keep on pushing him as best we can to get him back and fully firing like he was early on in the season. Randall Williams is walking relatively pain-free. He's on the Ultra G to a certain level, and we expect him in the next 2 weeks to be outside. Once that bone is healed from the stress fracture, once he's outside and pain-free, then there's not too much stopping him or slowing him down. And it'll be a case, he's such a fit lad. He won't take too much time to get match fit again. And it's just getting him honed into the needs and the musts of League Two football. I'm sure he'll do that in a short space of time. Sam's due to just get his knee drained and have an injection in his knee. But as soon as he gets that done in the next couple of days, you have a couple of days for that to settle, and then he'll be back out on a training pitch. And then obviously Rory seems to be healing relatively well. He's not been back with the squad as such to avoid the risk of contact, but he's done a lot of individual training and he's moving pretty well. He seems to be recovering as well as could be expected, but it'll be another 10 days before we probably see him on the actual training pitch or on the football pitch.
In terms of the physical and mental strain, 6 away games in a month, and they're not, other than Newport, they're hardly around the corner. What sort of mental and physical strain does that have on a player to be travelling so far, have the situation on Tuesday where it's called off, only get an hour's training on the Wednesday?
Look, it's not ideal. As manager and as a set of coaches, and teammates, they've just got to support each other. I think we're quite lucky in terms of it. They seem to enjoy each other's company. I sit down in the front of the coach and I listen to them playing cards and talking, and they seem to have fun, and they seem to get on pretty well. That's probably because, let's be honest, I think was 8 of them academy products on Tuesday night on that coach. They've grown up together. So they're close in terms of the bonds they've got, and the rest of them have known football and a bit more experience in terms of what football needs, and what they need to do to be prepared for games of football. I'll be open in terms of the conversations I've had with a lot of players this season. That they're struggling mentally, because it's not so much the rigours of our football or League Two as it stands. It's the same as everyone else in terms of the lockdown. And there's no real release, and they get to go home and see the families, but there's no release when you're at home. We're so lucky we get to come to work and get to exercise and get to keep fit in that respect, but then you still need another release off the back of that as well. So some of them have openly spoken about how they've struggled this season, but that goes across the board, and it's not just in football. I think that's throughout the country, and all we can do is support each other and get each other through it, and nights like Tuesday don't help in relation to the game being called off, but then a couple of beers and a bit of chicken and watching a game of football together just relaxes you, and it's something which they can't do when they're back at home, if that makes sense. So it is what it is. Like I say, we're pretty open in terms of where this group of players are at, but we mentioned about team selection. I'm always trying to keep my eyes on the ones who are struggling more than others, or who might need a little bit of a rest. And every now and then you might see a name not on a team sheet who just needs a couple of days away from the football environment. So we've got to be flexible, but you can only be flexible if you've got a good enough squad of players, and we're lucky where we're in relation to that.
On to Saturday's opponents, Oldham then. We saw in the home game against them early in the season, they scored some brilliant goals, but they're a tough team to break down, aren't they?
Yeah, look, I think it'll be a different game to what it was early on in the season. But some of the trends are the same. They like to play football. Harry Kuehl's the manager who gets them playing in the right way, passing the ball on the floor. They spread out off the back of it because they're quite an open team in relation to when they're in possession. But defensively, they're quite strong as well. They've got a lot of loan players and some dangerous loan players at that. So that's really impressive how they've recruited those loan players. But they can only have 5 in the matchday squad at any one time, so 2 always miss out. It's a game where 2 teams with hopefully good attacking intent will get a good enough surface to reflect that. This time of year, you just see time and time again these low-scoring games are mainly due to the pitches, and that's not just our own pitch. It's the pitches throughout the country at the moment who are struggling because of the weather. And we hope when we go up to Oldham this weekend, it'll be a good enough surface for both teams to play football on. And then it'll all be down to who performs well and who takes the chances. We've seen recently, I've said it all season, but goals change games. And hopefully getting our noses in front would be a good sign that we're playing well this weekend.
Well, you look at Oldham's record this season, they're mid-table, but only ourselves and Cambridge have scored more than them, but they've also conceded the joint most. So it's really a quiet game when Oldham are playing.
Yeah, it's exciting. I went to watch them at Newport a couple of months ago. I think that finished 4-2. And just was exactly that. Really good attacking intent, open at times and conceded a couple of poor goals, but looked like they could score on every attacking opportunity. So a dangerous team, and one we fully understand. And like I say, the disappointment of them beating us on our home patch early on in the season was a tough one to take, and we'll be looking for some sort of response in relation to that result. It'd be 2 totally different teams to what it was earlier on in the season. But like I say, the patterns and their philosophy won't have changed too much under that manager. We just hope the game's on, and we hope it's a good game of football, and we hope the weather and the pitch and the circumstances and always the environment doesn't affect the actual outcome too much.
You mentioned the weather and the pitch there, so finally, you mentioned there'll be a pitch inspection. It's looking like it's going to get down to about -4, -5 in Oldham tomorrow. I guess they've been in constant communication and will continue to be from what you've heard so far.
Yeah, look, there's a pitch inspection tomorrow. We'll delay our departure to a certain time in terms of hoping to get a decision in relation to that. But then there was pitch inspections at Barrow. There was one at 12 o'clock and one at 4 o'clock. There was one the previous day. So sometimes it's so difficult. As I said previously, when a pitch is playable at a certain time, sometimes you can't predict whether it is or isn't going to get cold, and you're going off weather forecasts. And sometimes you'll miss out on a game which could have been played. And everyone at the moment, ourselves, Barrow, Oldham included, are just desperate to get these games played because it's getting too much towards the end of the season in terms of the backlog of games, especially if they don't extend the end of the season. So people will be doing everything they possibly can to get this game of football on. But if we do make a decision in relation to getting called off, hopefully that will be sooner rather than later.